Yeah. I'm sure a lot of traffic will come. Yeah.
Feels like I was sitting on the other side.
Well, it's overwhelming. It really is. It's beautiful. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our regular June meeting. We have a quorum, and I know that Don's on his way. So I will call the meeting to order. And Madam Secretary, please take the roll.
Mr. Loveman,
Here.
Mr. Brookins.
Here.
Mr. Kaywood,
Here.
Mr. Hallowell, Mr. Hancock,
Here.
Ms. Holland,
Here.
Ms. Turner. Here. Mr. Young.
Here. Thank you, Gail.
Mr.
Mike, I
Chairman,
know you wanted to add a couple things to the agenda.
yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
I request to add 2 items to the agenda, and we can do these at the end of the agenda. One is an opportunity to save a little money on some financing for one of our projects through the Virginia Resources Authority and the Virginia Department of Health. So we have kind of a tight deadline to close on that document. The other is to talk about a neighborhood situation down in Franklin County. We may need to proceed with a condemnation to get water to a neighborhood who's going to be out of water soon. So I want to add both of those to the end of the agenda if we could.
Okay. Sure. Do that. You all have received the minutes from the last meeting on May 21st. Yeah, are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, I need a motion. Yeah,
Chairman,
second.
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second. Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by same sign. Okay, great, thank you. Mike, we have a.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm honored and with a little bit of regret to offer resolution 518 to commend Ms. Holland on her service to the board. I think you all know that this is her last meeting today. And so, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read the resolution if I could. And I'll skip the first paragraph with all our official stuff. But whereas the Board of Supervisors of Franklin County, Virginia, appointed Ms. Holland to serve as Director of the Western Virginia Water Authority in January of 2010, which extended to 4 terms totaling 16 and a half years of service. And whereas the authority has matured and grown significantly through Ms. Holland's leadership, judgment, and consistent decision-making in the best interests of authority customers and its member localities. overseeing the expansion and customer growth in Franklin County from 200 connections to over 4,000 today. Whereas Shirley faithfully served in the capacity of board chair on 2 occasions and as vice chair on 2 occasions. Throughout her tenure with the authority, she was a member of the board compensation committee, including 7 years as its chair. In addition, she contributed time and expertise as a member of the governance committee, audit committee, and volunteered in support of the employee idea team. And where Ms. Holland will be remembered as a strong supporter of the authority staff, demonstrating throughout her terms a commitment to the well-being of authority employees and their importance, often sending them handwritten cards with words of thanks. Whereas Ms. Holland was a strong advocate for the creation and updating of the authority strategic plan, even when the staff didn't always exhibit the same level of enthusiasm for the process. Whereas Ms. Holland shared her expertise in areas of marketing, strategic planning, and public relations with staff so that all customers would be better informed about the authority and its functions. And whereas Shirley will conclude her distinguished service on the board effective June 30th, 2016. And whereas the authority is determined to present this condemnation. Really. For Ms. Holland's outstanding contributions to the success of the authority and regionalism. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Directors of the Western Virginia Water Authority that they extend their heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Shirley Holland for her dedicated service to the authority and its customers, and that they send her on her way with warm regards and best wishes to enjoy her retirement and spoil her grandchildren.
One of the best resolutions I've ever heard in my life, I think. Thank you, Mike. Need a motion and a second to approve this resolution?
With kind of regret, I make the motion to approve this resolution.
Second.
And a motion and a second to approve this resolution. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brookins?
No, I'm just playing. Yes.
Mr. Kaywood?
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell? Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Ms. Holland?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Loveman?
Yes, with regret.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Shirley.
Shirley, on
Thank
behalf
you.
of all the staff, thank you for everything.
Oh, Shirley, here's a gift, but it's kind of big to sit over there. So I'm gonna leave it here. I want to thank everyone too. I mean, thank you. When I think about appointments, over the years, this has been one of the most rewarding in that I got to see firsthand the benefit of jurisdictions coming together with the authority and what a difference that's made in the community. And so I just really appreciate all of you, having worked with you, and I know that you'll be doing some great things in the future. And I could not ask for a better representative to replace me in this role. Gary Robertson, who's coming back to you. So looking forward to seeing what you all will be doing in the future. So thank you.
Shirley, I just want to thank you. We joined the board right around the same time. And you've always been that calming voice of reason for me. I remember when the discussions of, whether we're going to do the idea team and what it was going to look like. And I was dead set at the time that, no, we need to hire somebody. We need to do this. We need to do it now. And you sort of reeled me back in. You said, let the employees lead it, then let it form, and then we can see what happens from there. And that's exactly what happened. I want to thank you for that leadership and thank you for everything you've done for us.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciation.
Yeah, I was thinking about, the process that the board has gone through in making decisions. And it's been good to see how, even though we're distant sometimes in terms of our thoughts and where we think we ought to go and our opinions, through some really thoughtful deliberation and discussion, by the time it comes down to the vote, we're pretty much all on the same page. In fact, the only time I think I remember a split vote might have been around that winter average.
Oh,
Shirley, I can assure you that when the time comes, that will be in another resolution.
Oh, okay. That was good.
been a pleasure, surely.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to know you. You know, you're always welcome back here. So look forward to that. And I know I speak for the boards on that. So thank you. Written comments, I have one, Sylvia Powell. Sylvia, if you go up to the podium, please.
My name is Sylvia Powell. My address is 206 Bridge Street South, Buchanan, Virginia, in Botetourt County. And I do not have any prepared comments, so bear with me here. My family has been in this area probably for over 7 generations. My son is over there. And one thing that's really important about the land that I own is that it was my family's. On it is a spring. And one thing that I do not understand is how large water usage like that of Google potentially in Botetourt County would affect people who have springs on their land. Okay. As of yet, I have not heard anybody comment as to how those people would be affected. I have not heard anyone comment as to how people with wells, which there are a lot of in my county, would be affected. I also think it's important to think about the people who live a little closer to Greenfield, where y'all, maybe not y'all, sorry, I'll back that up, where it is proposed that people want to build that data center, okay? Because there are people there who have been there for generations, whether they're white or African-American or Republican or Democrats, they are there. And there are streams which are all over that site. And as of yet, there has not been a Virginia Water Protection Permit approved to disturb those streams, which are currently protected by the federal government, unless they vacate those protections because there was mitigation done in the past. I would like to know how y'all stand on the possibility that those protections would be vacated, given that that is, you know, those are waterways, right? Y'all care about water, right? Isn't that in your mission statement? So how do you feel about the fact that it's possible that those protections would be vacated on the federal level? That's all I have to say, I guess, because I don't know what else to say. Oh, yeah, a little more. I did my master's degree in biology on the Louisiana water thrush, which is a stream-dependent migratory songbird. Okay, so I also would like to know, how would these large water usages, which are potentially something that not one, but perhaps future data centers would be using in our area, how would they affect wildlife? Specifically, those stream-dependent species, such as the Louisiana water thrush, which relies on clean water, not just any water, clean water, okay? So that's another issue, because if you have a site like that site over there where Google's proposing to build, right? Then you're going to have runoff. You're going to be polluting the streams, I would imagine, downstream. I don't know if anyone studied those species or any stream-dependent species to see how they would be impacted yet. I don't know if those were things that happened long ago that I'm unaware of. If they have happened, I would love to know, because I am concerned about something that I spent several years studying. And I'm probably the only person in all the state of Virginia that has studied that species as thoroughly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia, for coming.
Mr. Chairman, if I might make one brief comment, and I have not studied what we published extensively, but I do think that the question that was raised is something that we could explain, because it is about water, but not a piece of water resource that we regulate at all. But that might be something good to describe in what we publish, because obviously I think it would be fairly easy to show that, you know, from a water authority perspective, the project itself doesn't have an effect on nearby wells because the water's not coming from there. But this is a question, if I understand it correctly, about wetland impacts and things like that, which is not regulated by the authority. So we might be able to state that, and then who actually does that, which is not us, because I thought that was actually a question I haven't heard before. And I don't think we've ever spoken to that, because I could see that being a logical citizen question to ask of us, but it's, again, not something the authority has a part in. So that might be something good we could add to the things that we put out there for the public.
So if you look on our website now, the information we have out there now regarding the project does talk about, that we won't be impacting groundwater. We're providing water from Crawford's Cove.
Right.
The project is not planning to take water from groundwater sources.
But the other,
Yeah, the other piece.
the impacts, which are regulated, just not by the
Right,
water
it's not by
authority.
us.
Yeah, Secretary, no other citizen comments, is that correct? Okay. Mike?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, moving on to the director's report for the month. One item, I want to bring to your attention, that is not in the report is, I want to, recognize, Sarah Baumgartner. Sarah's not here today. But next week is the American Water Works Association's national conference. It's actually in DC, so we have a couple of employees that'll be attending. And Sarah is going to be recognized. I'm not sure how they picked this time at 7:15 in the morning on Monday morning, first day of the conference. There's a breakfast.
15.
Yeah, there's a breakfast for public relations employees and officials from various water utilities across the country. And she has been selected as the National AWWA Public Relations Water Utility Employee of the Year. So she'll be receiving that award Monday morning.
Nice.
In addition, on page, you don't have to turn to it yet because I have a few other things, but when we get there on page 13, our 20th anniversary video that Sarah shepherded with public television, that's been nominated for a regional Emmy Award. And that award ceremony is Saturday night. So we're looking to see if we'll win an Emmy for that documentary. So on the first page of the report, just want to highlight, I think we mentioned this last month, we have 3 employees that are moving on to the National American Public Works Association Equipment Rodeo competition in Houston, Texas. You can see the picture there. And these guys did really well in the regionals. Mike Mills especially, who's, when you look at the photos, the guy on the right, Mike is not even a field guy anymore. He works in the office for us, but still he can jump on a piece of equipment and really make it work. So anyway, congratulations to those guys, and we'll report back at the September meeting on how they did. Moving on to page 2, do want to note that customer service is still working through the transition of Member One to the Virginia Credit Union. We continue to have customers that are trying to navigate that transition process. So that's still ongoing. Kind of midway down that same page on page 2, it's no surprise, but we are seeing less and less people pay their bills by mail. And we kind of reached an all-time low last month with only 6,000 payments through our payment processor in Baltimore that were mailed in. Pretty much everybody is either moving toward, either they use our Dropbox or the kiosks, or it's all digital in some form, either through bank draft, or they go on through our website, or they go through their own bank to pay us. So, I can remember when we first started, I think like 60% of all our payments were, or 70% were by mail. So that just shows you how technology has really changed in that area. We did have on page 3, just note, Leon has provided a lot of statistics about our customers that are a little bit behind on their bills. We actually in May, we did see a drop in the number of delinquent notices going out. So that was good. But I think we're still seeing a lot of pressure on these these customers due to the kind of inflationary effects we're seeing in the economy. So, on page 4, there's table 1, there is a summary of our Authority Cares program. I think, we've given out quite a fair amount of money since it launched in 2017. And we actually went back and looked at all the customer transmittals on that to see how often people are using that. And you can see, there's always been concern because we really don't have a lot of restrictions on that program, or anybody kind of gaming the system effectively. But you can see that that doesn't happen very often. The majority of our customers that get aid are only doing it 1 time or 2 times. And so we feel pretty good about the program. It's providing a lot of aid and with a very low overhead. I think Mr. Brookins really gets credit for that. He years ago kind of suggested we needed to have a easier, better process, and it seems to be working. Yep. Top of page 5, just point out our some of our contractors working with our field operations group. We've been working on trying to catch up on some restoration work from the winter months. Not only paving, but also things like concrete. Sometimes we have to rip out a gutter or a sidewalk. We've been working on trying to get our manholes watertight in the event of to keep inflow filtration going on. So you can see some pictures of efforts on that. Also, our field operations crews are completing the project on Hemlock and Carolina Avenue. This one is on our capital books for a long time. We're kind of glad to get this one underway. We're replacing 1,500 feet of old galvanized line, 2-inch galvanized with 8-inch ductile, and also some sewer improvements. So that project's finishing up. I think we just have some paving to do out there. So nice improvement for the citizens of that area. In page 6, kind of summarizes the current drought information, and I have some specifics for you. The drought monitor that came out today, which is different than one that was published last Friday in your report, actually shows a slight improvement in Virginia. However, Roanoke is unchanged. We're still in the D2 status. And again, that scale runs from 0 to 4, D0 to D4. So we're in that severe drought, but not extreme or exceptional. So that's good. The seasonal outlook, again, expects that the drought will persist through the beginning of September, end of August through September. However, we're also predicting just average, not just, but average rainfall chances through that period. So, and for the next 7 to 10 days, also some cooler weather. So, in reading the summaries from the Weather Service, it appears that while we're going to get average rainfall, it may not be enough to overcome the drought conditions we've seen. So they're not expecting, again, Virginia to be out of drought until probably September at this point. So it's kind of what we expected before.
Mr. Michael.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay.
That's good.
I called you, I think that was last week, relative to, explaining our drought contingency plan. You did a really good job. Thank you for explaining it to me. So how does that correlate
Yeah.
with severe? Because,
Yeah, I was getting there. Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the reasons we have the 2 reservoirs that we have, we actually have 4, but the 2 main ones is to provide storage during these times of drought. And that's what they're doing. As of today, the Carbons Cove Reservoir is at 13 feet below full pond. That's still 69% capacity. Again, more than 450 days of storage. Spring Hollow is at 15.6 feet. That's 81% of capacity. So their reservoirs are holding up well. They're doing what they're supposed to do. If you look at our drought contingency plan, and we're losing about 1/10 of a day in Carbons Cove. And again, our plan is triggered on the Carbons Cove Reservoir. We will likely, according to the plan, be in what we call stage 1 voluntary awareness about the first week of July, the rate we're going. So Sarah and her team have already a series of public relations items, videos, posts on social media all ready to go. We have some other items I'll talk about in a minute, but we're ready to go. But according to our plan, we won't really trigger that till early July. So, but we're on target to do that. Before the next board meeting, we'll probably have been there. So, and we'll definitely send you out an email when we pull that trigger. But it looks pretty inevitable at this point. Again, it's voluntary conservation. It's really awareness, just making sure our customers know that things are dry. Honestly, there's been so much news coverage on it. I think, it's hard to believe people don't, but people get information in all different ways. So there's probably some people who aren't aware. But this first phase is about awareness, getting people to recognize what's happening. The next phase we go to some mandatory restrictions. I don't anticipate us getting that till October at the earliest. If it doesn't rain between now and October, October is as early as we'd ever get there. Again, according to our plan and the storage we have in our reservoir. So we're still pretty far away from any kind of mandatory restrictions. And some of the things we've been doing in the meantime, we've actually been for several months now buying water from the city of Salem just to offset, to preserve what we have in our reservoir. Salem has capacity, so we're buying water from them. We do anticipate at some point that, they withdraw water from the Roanoke River. at some point that they probably will have to tell us they can't continue supplying us because the river will continue to get low if we don't get rainfall. So that's a possibility, but they've been very gracious to sell us some water there. We have been moving more water from Spring Hollow up to through the Carver's Cove system. Again, Spring Hollow has a lot of capacity right now, the reservoir is more than 80%. We had been on 12-hour production days. We're going to 16 to produce more from that plant. And we're pushing as much water as we can from there east into the Carver's Cove system.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question, follow
Absolutely,
up
sure.
to Alvin's question? In terms of awareness, I would agree, you would think that folks have been pretty aware
Yeah,
for
but-
quite a while.
Yes.
Have we seen any indications of more conservation occurring in utilization, household or something like that in
Not-
the last month?
Not yet, because the summer is the high use period. So, we definitely see differences between summer and winter under normal conditions, but we're in a kind of a high use period right now anyway. So
Thank you.
I do think some people probably are cutting back, but it's in a period where people tend to use water.
Great, thank you.
Some other things we're doing, like we're contacting all the fire departments. I think they've mostly done all their hydrant testing. I think y'all know that we have this great relationship with the area fire departments where they actually go out typically twice a year in the various localities, and they'll flush hydrants for us, and then they'll let us know if there's any maintenance problems, if anything needs to be repaired. They also paint the hydrant for them. We provide the paint, and they'll do the painting for us. But we're gonna let them know to stop doing that testing, for the foreseeable future until we can, until conditions get better. No reason that testing is not required. It's just a good practice on their part to make sure all the hydrants are working. And so there's no need for that. We're also going to curtail some of the flushing we do to try to cut down on some water usage there.
Chairman, I got a question, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I think the bigger, more forecasted concern is going to be what happens once we get the large water user, and if we go to voluntary, how does that affect that large water user?
Right.
If we're still trying to pull different water sources from different places.
So, yeah, we've kind of previously said we recognize that our plan doesn't visualize a large water user like the Google project does.
Yeah.
That plan was created many years ago and has been updated. We do intend to update that before Google comes online, and that's a discussion that we expect to have with you guys. So now you want to see that happen, but we don't know that now's the time to change that.
Right.
We want to, not the time to be changing the yardsticks, right? We want to stay with our plan, kind of work our plan, make sure everything is, that the public knows what to expect. A lot of people are familiar with their plan. They know where it is on our website. So, but between now and when Google comes online, which, is about 3 years away, if they stay on track, we do need to update the plan to take that into account.
One other comment I would make, and I don't know if there's a good way for us to do this, but I've talked to any number of people who've talked about, the current drought that we're at. And I've said that, well, we've got at current utilization rates, we've got well north of a year's worth of water, and that's what reservoirs are for. People seem shocked to learn that there's, that's assuming, no rain at all, right, for that period of time. And that you didn't change the use, obviously rain will happen in that period of time, and we would sharply curtail utilization if you started getting to that point. But, we've had a long period of time with very little rain. And again, so the whole point of having a system and having reservoirs, and that's what they're there for. I don't know how we share that, but just looking at this chart, that is, the reservoirs have been very durable, which again is why they're there.
Well, we have a new dashboard that we put on our website.
Okay.
Maybe pull that one up to get to your point
I
there.
don't know if anybody's done any media work on any of that, because there's always focus on, lack of rain or lack of anything. But the amount remaining is, when I tell people that, they just look with disbelief.
I know. Yeah, it's so this is a new dashboard we have on the website right now that's under our drought contingency planning. This is premiered this week. You can go ahead and change in some of the metrics. You can go back and look at, I know that's a little hard to read, so we have to kind of clean that one up. But, you can go back and look at previous droughts, kind of see where things are at. When you look at social media right now, which again is being amplified by the data center debate. In fact, I'm a little concerned that our message is going to be diluted because anytime, we've already been doing low key announcements about the drought. Anytime we do, people just glom onto that and, have negative comments about the data center. So I'm a little concerned that, our message is going to get diluted anyway, but.
And since I guess the early 2000s, which was the last time we had a really significant event, again, your ability to move water between the reservoirs has increased a lot. So that didn't really exist. I remember there was like an emergency pipe being constructed to try to do that.
Exactly.
But now that's more of a routine business matter to take water from Spring Hollow, bring it into Carbon's Cove. So you probably wouldn't see this again because what year that is, was it 03? The really deep valley there. We couldn't move water with quantity back then.
Correct. Back then the authority wasn't even formed, right? So the city and county, hadn't joined, and there was a little bit of, I'll say hesitation to work together there because, I was the city utility director in the city. We didn't necessarily want to spend money buying water from the county. Gary was the utility director of the county at the time, and while he was offering to sell us water, he had to kind of think about his own conservation issues and things like that. So that's why I kind of mentioned like the city of Salem. I think at some point they'll probably tell us, hey, we need to maybe back off what we're selling you. Right now they're very accommodating, but all those kind of things kind of come into the mix. And 2002 was the drought record. When you look back in the history of the Carbon's Cove Reservoir, we have a drought about every 20 to 22 years. We're actually a little overdue for one because it's been 24 years since we had a drought. But there was a drought in the early 60s, early 80s. You had the 2002 one. 1999, 2002, we kind of see that as just one really big drought that happened together. That is the drought record for the area. So it's time for us to have another drought, not unusual. You probably also have seen, and I mentioned this before, that the Weather Service is predicting a flip from La Nina to El Nino. We're in the neutral position right now, but in the fall, we're going to switch to El Nino conditions. That typically is more of a wet time for the East Coast and the South. You've already started seeing there started being some Gulf moisture coming up. I think we had our first named storm that just formed right off the coast of Texas. So I think the drought in the Southeast will be relieved another few months. And in fact, we'll probably be talking about flooding, unfortunately, next winter, because we're going to flip and go to the other side. So, but again, these are not unusual, and this is what we plan for. So that's why we have reservoirs. And, it's important, I think, for us to make sure people understand that and, they remain calm. It's not, we're fine right now. We're doing what we need to be doing.
And since 2002, tens of millions of dollars have been invested in the infrastructure that's necessary to do things that were not possible back in 2002. So it's a much more resilient system, even with the two existing reservoirs, which again, I think a lot of folks just don't understand that. So
Exactly.
But this is a good resource right here that I didn't know we had. So.
And one other comment, part of the discussion that you and I had, council also had a discussion on Monday. And so the city is also going to be doing a campaign, education campaign. So I believe that our PIO has reached out to your department.
She
to
has.
make sure that we're in concert and not contradicting.
Yeah,
So,
no. In fact, Sarah, I think, spoke to her and said we were gonna tag you guys on everything. She can just repost it. Don't have to recreate everything. And so, so that'd be good. Again, there's so much, well, in general, I think y'all know social media in general on any topic is incredibly busy right now. But again, there's so much discussion of this topic already. Getting our message out is probably gonna be a little difficult. Any other questions on that topic?
thank you.
let's see, at page 7, want to point out, we got our second payment from 3M Corporation, the amount, a little less than $650,000 in the class action PFAS settlement. So that was good. Again, Scott Shirley's handled that for us. So Scott, thanks for getting all the funding for us. We are continuing to work on the Martin Creek issue. I've reported this one last month. This is a small system in Roanoke County that does have some PFAS contamination in its wells. We went ahead and did retests. The retests were confirmed everything that we saw before. We are moving forward with the phase 2 project to extend the Pokes Mill water line out to that subdivision, so that's all underway. And in the meantime, we're looking at some temporary treatment units that could mitigate, do some removal out there before we get a piped water main out there.
Any source for that?
We have, there's nothing out there. It is all agricultural. There's like nothing out there. And two, the wells on the south side of the creek don't have anything in it. It's all the ones on the north, and it's, I don't know. We're not sure what's going on there, but we hit a pretty low number at the water pollution control plant. Again, dry conditions. We're not seeing inflow and infiltration. So we were May, we were down to 25.3 million gallons a day. That's pretty low. Our usual numbers are 33 to 37. So kind of at the plant on page 8, they want to point out in the middle of the page there, Bionomics Services, who has been our land application contractor for more than 20 years, has let us know that they do not want to renew their contract with us at the end of this current season. Yeah, their parent company has decided just to get out of the land application business. They, interestingly enough, that they're still going to do like pipe cleaning and lagoon cleaning and landfill operations and different things like that. But they just see the amount of pressure being put on land application. They just don't see it as a business they want to continue investing in. So we'll be going out for some RFPs, see if we can find another contractor to run our land application program for us. One option is Bionomics has indicated they may be willing to sell us the tankers that they currently use to transport the biosolids to us. So we might look at what it would take to run it ourselves. We would contract out the trucking piece to somebody like Thompson Trucking or one of those. But we might evaluate what it would be doing for us to continue the program on our own instead of through a contract. But that was a bit of a surprise. I think we were a little shocked by that. Top of page 29, we completed the work on the filter units at Spring Hollow. So happy about that. Let's see, at page 10, we continue to work with the Idlewood Shores subdivision down in Franklin County. This is the one I've kind of gone back and forth with y'all that we thought we were going to get some money from the health department, and they said no. Well, now we're back, but we have to get it spent by the end of August. And so our staff are working hard to get that done and get them transitioned over from a private provider that no longer wants to provide service. We had a great open enrollment session. At the end of May, we had over 219 employees enrolling in healthcare this year in the Key Care 500 program, and 76 are in the high deductible plan. We had that up at Green Ridge Rec Center. We had a number of health activities. It was a wellness fair. We also had credit unions there, and our retirement folks were up there. We had people from VRS and our 401 provider and things like that. So good program. We have employees interested in doing a weight loss program using the GLP-1 medications. There's a study underway where they're working with local governments. It's a couple of universities and a couple of pharmaceutical companies. You have to meet certain metrics. Your BMI has to be pretty high to be in this program. But we had upwards of 50 employees that indicated they'd be willing to do that. So we put the paperwork in to see if we can be part of this this trial to kind of compare the value of these weight loss drugs versus traditional costs for treatments of things like joints and joint issues and diabetes and things. So we'll see if we get selected for that. Let's see, engineering's got a lot of stuff going on. Again, I mentioned the Pokes Mill project is moving along nicely. And I do want to highlight on top of page 13, we have kicked off the water improvements that we're working with the town of Benton on. I think you all probably have seen that the town is working with a developer to renovate the old Gish Mill project or building, feed store. They're turning it into a restaurant and some, I think, short-term living, kind of Airbnb units and a store and stuff. They needed fire protection, and there's a couple of the buildings around there that also needed some additional fire protection. So the town actually reached out to us about a project. They're funding that project, about $800,000, and we did all the design work and managing construction. EC Pace is doing the work. It's moving along great. So, let's see. Under regional, I mentioned the Emmy award for our documentary that we did on our 20th anniversary. And also want to highlight that the IDEA team was out at Local Colors. They provided a booth to do homemade bubbles for the kids out of recycled materials that you can use, show how to make wands out of those. So we had a good turnout at that. And we also have some employees that will be up at Eureka Park for the Juneteenth celebration on Saturday there. Finally, on the end of May, we also did a tabletop exercise at Spring Hollow to review our emergency action plans for our dams. This is something we do periodically. We invite in all the emergency management staff from the area localities, the Weather Service. You can see some folks from CISA with Homeland Security were there, our dam consultant, GEI. And we just basically run through some exercises to say, kind of what if the dam had a problem, or we had a, issue with the spillway or things like that, and how do you do emergency response to that? So kind of something we do periodically as part of our training for those kind of emergencies. Again, more of a wet weather condition, but it's a good time to do it while it's dry right now. So. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I guess I have one other thing. At the end of your report, after the usual tables, there's a handout, State of the Water Industry by the American Water Works Association. Some interesting, this is a survey they do annually. They've been doing it since 2004. And it kind of surveys utility employees, consultants, other affiliated business individuals about how they see the water industry going nationally. What are the things that to be worried about, think about, where are people spending their money? So it's, I find it interesting. Hopefully you guys will too. So we included that executive summary there for you. And then with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Mike. Any questions for Mike? Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, report. Financial report, Jamie?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board have the financials for the month of May. Taking a look at the water fund, water sales are at 92%. Operating revenues are at 97%. Operation and maintenance expenses are at 83%, with net income from operations at 134%. Taking a look at the sewer fund, sewer charges are at 94%. Other operating revenues are at 92%. Operation and maintenance expenses are at 84%, with the net income of operations at 180%. Taking a look at the combined statement, operating revenues are at 94%. Operating expenses are at 84%, and total net income from operations is at 126%. And then down below, you see the cash analysis of where our cash stands at the end of May. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments about financial report? Okay. Report from our council, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity. I know that Mr. Carroll is sad that he can't be here, but there's going to be a meeting where you're going to have to put up with me. This is probably it. I mean, the bond council, and so that seems to be the tone of the day, at least toward the end of the agenda. Most of these items that are in the council reports, I don't know a huge amount about because of Mr. Carroll's matters. I hope that the information that you've seen here is helpful to you. With regard to the bonds. There are in fact two that are in the works, but probably Ms. Lawfield and I will address those when we actually hit that point in the agenda. Is that correct? The other item that I happen to know a fair amount about is finishing the wrap up of the Vinton matters. Finally managed to get a deed drafted based upon all of the information, based upon all the land records. We have over 1,000 pages of land record research to figure out everything that Vinton owned. There are a couple of things left over, which I've talked with Rachel Lauer about, where either Roanoke County or the Roanoke County schools actually appear to own something Vinton's been using for decades, and so we sort
We
of,
love them.
or like, I think in one case, Vinton actually owns something that the schools have used for decades, and there's just a well on it. And it probably makes sense just to put an easement around that well to the road and over where the pipe is, but we need to probably have a discussion about how to handle that. There's also a couple of pieces of facility that the authority wants to continue using, but that it's not part of the authority's long-term plan. So what has been done is Vinton leasing it to the authority. So we'll have to make an amendment to the agreement to provide for the fact that Vinton's not conveying it to the authority in fee simple, but to reflect that it's a lease. It's a couple of small things like that, but we're down to the very last small things. Very glad you're working with Ms. Lauer on those items. I think. That's all I have for the council report. Please take it easy on me if you have any questions.
Any questions for?
So Bridgewater is wrapped up.
We still have to close on the property and, but we got finally the certificate from the State Corporation Commission approving it. So we're looking to close middle of next month. So should be done by then. So we'll take over operations and finally that one will be put to bed after 4 years, I think, to get that.
No other questions or comments? Thanks, Mike. Thanks for being here. Reports from committee chairs. Randall, I know you have one.
Yes, governance committee met prior to this meeting and recommended the slate of officers for the 2027 fiscal year. And those would be myself from vice chair to chair. Mr. Young is vice chair. Ms. Shrewsbury is secretary. Ms. Lawfield is treasurer. And Ms. Baumgartner is assistant secretary and FOI FOIA officer.
Thanks, Randall.
And I would make a recommendation or motion that we approve those.
Okay, and this comes from a committee chair. Does not require a second. We just need any comments or questions? Need a voice vote. All those in favor of the slate of officers for the new year, please let it be known by saying aye. Opposed by same sign. Okay, congratulations to Randall and Tucker and others. Any other committee chairs?
Mr. Chairman, the next couple items are kind of a little bit of annual housekeeping, so I'll just move through them fairly quickly. Item number 9, on your agenda, adoption of the board meeting schedule. You have before you the proposed schedule for fiscal year 2027. It's the same as the previous years. It has the meetings on Thursdays at 3, with the tradition of no meeting in August or December, and a public hearing scheduled approximately this time next year at 5:30.
Make a motion to approve the meeting schedule.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor of the schedule, please let it be known by saying aye. Opposed by same sign. Okay, thank you. Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, moving on to number 10 on your agenda. This is the holiday schedule for employees for the upcoming year. It follows our same pattern as the last couple of years with 10 regular holidays where the authority offices are closed, and then 2 floating holidays. This year, those will be Veterans Day and President's Day. where the employees accrue a holiday, but our offices are open that day. Again, same as last couple of years where it's 12 total holidays for the year.
Thank you. Need a motion and a second to approve these?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, thank you. Any further discussion or comments? All those in favor of the schedule, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by same sign.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, next one.
Yep. Item number 11 is approval of the board member remote participation and conducting all virtual board meetings. The Code of Virginia requires that we adopt this policy annually. And you guys actually did this earlier in the year, but we wanted to kind of get this on the regular schedule of other things we do annually at the June meeting. So we have y'all adopt this again. But originally the policy was resolution 514. It was adopted in November of 2025, the original one. So we'd ask you to re-adopt that policy in conformance with state code requiring an annual adoption.
So no changes?
No changes, Jim.
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Second, okay, we have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor of this policy, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by same sign. Okay. Okay. Mike, item 12.
Item 12, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we discussed last month the idea of offering employees a one-time bonus. We've had a good year fiscally, and we've had employees working very hard. We do again have a merit increase proposed for the budget that you'll look at later, but we'd like to do a one-time bonus of approximately $1,100 for full-time employees that meet certain hiring dates, and then a lesser amount for part-time employees or people who don't meet that hiring date, approximately half at $550. We had originally looked at a cost on this of about $470,000. When we kind of looked at, we kind of settled on $1,000 for employees. We scaled it up to $1,100 so that after taxes, they would get roughly $1,000. That turned out to be a little less than $400,000, so a little less than we thought it would be. I think it's well-deserved for the employees. We've had a lot of things going on. We're working on a lot of projects right now outside of everyone's normal scope. So I would encourage you to go ahead and authorize the bonus for employees. We would pay this out the last Friday. So next would be next Friday if you approve this. And kind of roughly corresponds to June 30th, which is the day the Commonwealth sets aside for recognizing water and wastewater professionals across the Commonwealth. So Water and Wastewater Professionals Day. And Neil and the HR team already have a number of activities planned for that June 30th to also recognize employees for all the hard work they're doing. But tying a bonus check to that really would be a lot of things. So, and happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, in a second.
So I think I might have missed, I had to take advantage of our remote policy last meeting, and I may have missed some of this, so forgive me for catching up a little bit. So is the 2% is the 400,000 or 470,000 was 2% of overall budget?
That was.
It's not a 2% per person.
No.
So
So
some people,
it was 2% of our payroll budget.
Right.
And so that's how we kind of came up with the 475 number.
Yeah.
And then we kind of settled down, we wanted to do a flat amount instead of a percent of employee salary, we decided to do a flat amount so that our lower paid employees would kind of realize more. So we settled on $1,000, again, scaled up to 1,100. That actually turned out to be less than 2% of our budgeted payroll. It was, a little less than 400,000.
So some will get more than 2% of their current pay, and some will get less because it's just the way the math works.
Right, because it's a flat rate.
And what's the merit it's budgeted for next year?
3%.
And that'll go into effect when?
The first payroll in July.
After July. And is there a reason to think that this year is different than next year in terms of workload and projects?
Hopefully not. Hopefully things will get lighter, but we are hearing from employees that their prices are up. We're in a little bit of inflationary period. I'm hoping that will settle a little bit, but by this time next year. But we already had programmed in a 3% raise in the budget for everybody. We didn't feel like we could probably do a whole lot better than that, but we do have some funds in the current year budget that we could pay this out of in this fiscal year and not carry that cost into next year. So that's what we were kind of
Plus, is
proposing to
there
do.
some other like state and other
Yeah,
municipalities doing the
so,
same thing?
Several municipalities in our region are doing bonuses for employees. The state has a $1,500 bonus available for its employees, and I believe the teachers as well. So, I think a lot of localities and the state are looking at this issue. Same thing, recognizing that maybe a higher salary increase is probably not possible. And, we have funds available in our current budget to cover.
I will say though, the state speaketh with forked tongue about this issue. So teachers were $1,500 flat. Other Commonwealth supported local government employees were 2%. So they did both, and I can make both arguments. I do think that yeah, when you do a flat number, of course, that's very friendly. If you're on the lower end of the pay scale, it can be demoralizing when you're on the upper end. And I don't think there's a right one size fits all, but I will say the state did both at the same time, which was fascinating. So we did a 2% because that's what the state supported local employees were going to receive. And then, of course, the school system did I think $1,500 for teachers.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were to do. The philosophy on the best approach seems to yet to have been determined.
Yeah, so what I would have said if I was here last time, so I'll say it this time, is I want to be mindful that, as we all know, these are our customers, our community's money. Just because it's extra in the budget doesn't mean it's extra money. I also think that there is a precedent factor to remember here. I don't think the work is going to get less. I'm not sure inflation is going to go down by next year. And having lived through these things before, there is a precedent setting factor. So I've said what I would have said last month.
And I'll echo those sentiments. We of course gave a flat 2%. So we're not like a lot of the other localities in terms of, just having the extra dollar to do. And I agree with Ms. Hartwell. I mean, just because we have it doesn't mean that we should. So those are particularly with already getting a 3%.
Right.
Increase.
The board's desire for action on this item.
I think you just gotta open it up for a motion, Mr. Chairman. And I'll go ahead and lead that. I'll make the motion to adopt the 1,100 and 550 as presented.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Questions? All those in favor of it, by
I think
saying
you should
aye.
I don't know if you should do a roll call on that.
Sorry,
You might want to do a roll call on that,
Roll
given
call?
the comments that were,
we can do that. Okay, Madam Secretary?
Mr. Brookins?
yes.
Mr. Kaywood?
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Ms. Holland?
Yes.
Ms. Turner? Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Loveman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The employees will appreciate it.
Next item is a presentation. Mike, do you think we would want to take a break before that one? Or no?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, why don't we have some of our consultants here today. I'm going to actually turn this over to Scott Shirley to lead this part of the discussion, but they've been kind of waiting patiently, so maybe we could do this part and then.
Take a break?
Yeah, take a
For a
break.
break, okay, and come back. 5 minutes or so.
Thanks, Mike.
There, great.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm going to be joined today and I welcome Ms. Linda Warren with Launch Consulting and James Musmuzi. If y'all like to go ahead and come up to our presenter spot.
Thank you.
So in your board package, we provided a summary board report, but I'm going to reserve most of this for our PowerPoint presentation. In addition to the board report, we've actually given you the initial forestry assessment, the outcome from our work at Carvins Cove. As a reminder, we did a really large stakeholder meeting and invited in state agencies, recreational. We did a number of things to solicit and gain community input. And so with that, we can go ahead and we can switch to the PowerPoint. And so PowerPoint really is a good summary of the work that we accomplished. Next slide. So on the project background, this actually has its inception point to a 2007 Carvins Cove Natural Preserve Plan. That particular plan was a joint effort primarily led by the city of Roanoke, but the Water Authority participated, state agencies participated. And so that particular plan called for eventually the city, the Water Authority to proceed with forestry assessment and then anticipation that we would develop a forestry management plan. And so from 2007 to now, we've got our forestry assessment at least complete. As a reminder, so the city of Roanoke owns and controls all land at Carvins Cove above the 1,200-foot contour. And then the authority manages, owns and manages all land below the 1,200-foot contour, inclusive of the reservoir. And so I think the original thought really was protecting the waterways and then the joint effort between both parties. So this particular plan, the city of Roanoke has been a valuable partner and involved in all steps through the process, working with the consultants, actually all the way from consultant selection till now. And we've had multiple meetings working through this and proud of the plan that it's produced between both parties. So with that, next slide. So I'll introduce the project team. We have joining us today, Linda Warren, who is the Principal Resilience Specialist with Launch Consulting. I think CC Atkinson is joining us online. And then James Ramuzzi is a licensed professional forester with NatureWorks. And so they've done a lot of really incredible work helping us understand the risks at Carvins Cove and how we can afford protection for Carvins Cove for years to come. So with that, I'll turn it over to Linda.
Thanks, Scott. Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
So I'm Linda Warren, and I'm a professional engineer here in Virginia. Started Launch 16 years ago to do all things resilient around infrastructure, around people, everything to help water and wastewater utilities as well as cities. So we've worked in over 150 cities and utilities across the country. And I bring you everything we talk about today from that perspective. So we worked with James Ramuzzi and his group, NatureWorks. And James is a forester and someone who has been helping a lot of communities to protect their reservoir forested areas. He brings a lot, and what he did is he came on site with his team and did an assessment within the Cove area. So he evaluated the roads, he evaluated the forest health. We're always thinking about the wildfire risk. And he collected some very interesting field data, which he will share the results of with you today. And the main purpose for us to be here and to do this work is to provide information that informs you so you can make good decisions about how to continue to protect the resource that we have here. And with that, we summarize the findings. You can see those in the report. There's the recommendations. And so as you're thinking about this today, it's about what are the next steps? What are the next steps over the next year, over the next 5 years to continue the health of Carvins Cove and continue to protect the drinking water as well as to protect what is a wonderful recreational asset for you. So with that, I'll turn it over to James.
Hey, thanks, Linda. Great to be here speaking with you all today. We can go to the next slide, please. So this is a quick project summary of the actual things that we did as part of the project. We conducted the initial forest assessment. An important thing to note is you have a 12,000 acre watershed. It's an extremely big forest. So it was not a comprehensive look at the forest, and it was not a statistically valid forest inventory. So we did an initial forest evaluation. We conducted the road assessment, looking at the primary roadways that were kind of at that 1,200 foot mark that were constantly used in the watershed. We hosted a workshop for community partners to get some public input. That process went really well. We got really supportive input from the local community. And then we took all the field data that we did, all the data that we collected on the roads assessment, and developed it into the initial forest assessment report. Launch also led the development of a wildfire incident action checklist, which is the first step in preparedness for a wildfire if it were to occur. So those were the project summaries. We can go to the next slide, please. We went to 37 different places in the watershed that were spread out across the watershed equidistantly, and used a standard methodology to evaluate and map the type of forest that we saw there. And so this slide really shows that you have a range of forest types across the watershed, pretty standard for a forest as big as Carmen's Cove. It's a range of forest types and conditions: oak hickory, heath oak, pine dominant. There's a range of conditions. So you have very healthy sections of forest and you have very unhealthy sections of forest. You have common impacts that we're seeing across the mid-Atlantic, things like invasive plant species, things like insects and disease, things like overstocking, ash borer mortality. And so at these 37 different points across the watershed, we are evaluating the forest for its health and its general condition. We also use the same methodology for the roads. Again, the roads were pre-identified for us. We loaded the information in our mobile GIS system. And then the column on the left shows the features that we were evaluating as we were boots on the ground. So we were looking at culverts. We were looking at erosive line segments. Were there sections of the roads that were eroding? Were there erosive points? Were there hazard trees that could potentially fall on someone if they happen to be walking along the road? We also looked at hazardous fuels in working with Roanoke Fire and local partners. They identified some concerns that the roads that they did have to work with had hazardous conditions on either side of the roads relative to either hazard trees or hazardous fuel vegetation loads. We looked for turnarounds because that was also something identified. If you're in a brush truck going down and the forest is on fire, you need somewhere to turn that truck around. And we also looked at what's the old infrastructure that you have on the property that could potentially be used and improved in its management. Just a quick shot of some of the raw data that we collected. We use mobile GIS in everything that we do and GPS. So the orange points are the hazard trees. That marks exactly where that tree is, an evaluation of the condition of those trees. The kind of bluish lines are those erosive line segments that we would have collected. So all of that raw data was then processed in post-processing after the field work, and we use that to create a whole range of maps that are included in the report. Next slide, please. So the project findings, what we found, to start with the community, generally everyone in the community is supportive of managing the forest for forest health, for risk reduction, for recreation, for aesthetics, and for water quality. Understanding, one of my favorite quotes as a forester is that the story of water is told on the land. So I think that was generally understood in the community that in order to have a healthy water, you need a healthy forest. And in order to get a healthy forest, you have to do a certain level of management to that forest. Because what we found was in some of the places in the watershed, the forest is overstocked. There are ultimately too many trees. And similar to a garden, if you have too many trees or too many rows of corn, all those plants are competing with themselves. And so because of an overstocked forest, you've got declining health in those areas. There's an associated wildfire risk in the watershed. To remind you of the fire triangle, you need heat, you need fuel, and you need oxygen for fire. And so you have ignition sources in the watershed in the form of people. People are the largest contributors to wildfire in any situation. So it's not only people, but it's also infrastructure. So power lines are in the watershed. And then you've got these accumulated fuels because you're dealing with a forested system. We found road erosion. Ultimately, the roads were eroding, but it wasn't anything drastic that we saw where it's making, you can document where there are these sediment loads going as a direct result of the roads, but there is areas for improvement for the roads and their conditions. We also identified first responder impacts. Roanoke Fire is a responsible party to respond to any wildfires, and they've got some real challenges out there. The roads are in some places unmaintained. There's a bridge on site that's not rated for a wildland truck with water on it. And there's kind of limited access ultimately to what it was historically in the watershed. And then lastly, it's an amazing recreational resource. There's an amazing infrastructure in place. The community is super supportive of it, but there's also associated recreational impacts. When we were out doing part of our evaluation, there had been a recent ice storm. And so there was trees all the way across the roads and the trails, and the bikers and hikers were having a hard time out there. And so understanding that all of these things are intertwined is both a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. Because all the work that you can do in forest management and resource management will be mutually beneficial to forest health, water quality, and recreation. So just to touch on the wildfire risk at Carvin's Cove, as you can imagine, wildfires threaten source water. These forests are acting as natural filtration for the reservoir, for natural storage, and for source water protection. And so wildfires can be very impactful. And so especially in the areas where there are dangerous fuel levels, those risks go up. And understanding that if the forest gets impacted negatively by a wildfire, that there's going to be downstream effects. And then in addition to the water quality challenges, these first responders are tasked with having to go into this watershed when it's on fire, without necessarily the most ideal infrastructure for fighting wildfire. Next slide, please. So what can we do? Some of the strategies we identified, it's kind of hierarchical here, 1 through 9. The next logical phase that we saw was to develop a forest management plan, a comprehensive forest management plan. So we have this initial assessment to gain an understanding. The next phase is to develop a comprehensive forest management plan for the entire watershed, where we can take a deeper dive on the forest conditions. We can do a statistically valid forest inventory across the watershed, and then you can develop the stakeholder engagement to understand what the needs are of the water authority and what the needs are of the local community and how those can be mitigated. From there, it's really kind of on the ground implementation work to understand that these forests take stewardship, whether it's targeted thinning and sustainable harvesting, controlling invasive species, lowering the wildfire risk in designated areas, installing interconnected fire breaks that could also benefit the recreational community, and then continuous monitoring and adaptive management. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, can I have a question?
Please.
So I know that the city's team was very instrumental in working with you all, so
Yes,
thank you so
ma'am.
much.
They were great to
Great
work with.
partnership. Number 3, the strategic prescribed burns was the only one that we had a little heartburn with. Can you tell me a little bit more? Because I thought we had decided to move that out of the main report and put it in the appendix while we're kind of working through that.
And that's what the forest management plan would handle. So any one of these things are ideas at this point.
Okay.
Until you come up with a forest management plan.
Sounds-
So you might just decide not to do anything with prescribed burns, or you might decide you'd like to. But there's nothing in the assessment that says, oh, you should do this. These are just ideas.
So just some look at some of the improvements for access management in the roads. There's eroded road beds, removing the hazardous trees, some regrading, maintaining surface depths with gravel. A lot of the culverts needed cleaning out and reinforcement, managing roadside vegetation, and then just this idea of mapping and evaluating first responder access routes to give them something that's reliable for getting in and doing the work that they need to do. So ultimately, what we're looking at is this idea of going to a proactive approach versus reactive. And this is a little bit of a dramatic slide, but when you're dealing with a fire suppressed forest or a forest that has lower health components, if you do have a wildfire in this top slide, it's going to be a stand replacing fire. Most of that forest is going to get incinerated, and you're going to be dealing with a situation where you're looking at pretty significant impacts to that ecosystem. On the bottom slide, it's the idea of a healthy forest is a well-spaced out forest. Those trees have room to grow. They're not competing for water and nutrients. They're more robust and resilient, and they're also effectively fire-adapted species. So in our ecosystem, those are largely the oaks, which can withstand low-intensity fire. And so should a wildfire happen in these more resilient forest systems, that forest is still going to survive. And in some cases, it's going to thrive under those situations. And so this idea of looking ahead to proactive management to help mitigate the potential risks and not have to be reactive in your management of both the forest and the resulting water quality. So recognizing that ultimately these forests are directly connected to the faucets. It's the first primary treatment for the water that you're seeing. And it's the lowest cost treatment you're going to get by having and maintaining a healthy forest and a healthy forested watershed. So this is my professional opinion, but it's supported by a lot of science. So there was a study at UC Davis where it's every dollar spent saves you $3.75 in prevention. Hit it again. There's another science, wildfire damages and cost-effective roles of forest fuel treatments, cost-benefit analysis of Denver's forest to faucets program. And I believe we put another one looking at an ROI of fuel treatments in the American West. So there's a huge amount of research and science out here. I'd be happy to share these studies if you're interested in some late night reading. But there's a lot to support this idea of this proactive management will help mitigate costs downstream. So next slide. Just to build on that, the studies we saw, severe wildfires can increase stream turbidity 5 to 100%. You're looking at tens of millions of dollars on emergency treatment upgrades, dredging and sediment removal, debris management, and post-fire watershed stabilization. A lot of those elements were addressed in the wildfire checklist to get us thinking about what would be needed if this should happen. And then that last bullet really kind of drives it home. Every dollar invested in forest restoration can return $3 to $7 in avoided damages and ecosystem benefits, especially as it relates to water treatment. Next slide. So just some budgeting to look ahead at these different options for management. Again, that developed the concept. Comprehensive Forest Management Plan is going to be the entire blueprint for the watershed. And ultimately making that investment is similar to getting a blueprint for a house that you're interested in building. You could certainly build a house without a blueprint, but it might not turn out the way you'd like, and it's most likely going to cost a little bit more. And so that forest management plan really sets the foundation to help inform these other items 2 through 7. So
And
in,
that-
in forest health strategies, improving the road access, engaging the community will all be help driven by that comprehensive management plan.
And one of the nice things about that forest management plan is it's very much for the city and the water authority and any others who need to be involved in it. You make that complete community forest management plan, get everyone on board, and then it's a wonderful input from where you are now to here's our guide. And everyone can get behind anything that you choose to do. So 2 through 7 are things that likely you would want to do based on that forest management plan. But you have the opportunities when you do that forest management plan to decide.
I think that's really important. This has been a collaborative process between the water authority, between the city parks, and it's a really unique opportunity to continue that collaboration that benefits both the community, recreation, the forest health, the aesthetics of the watershed, and ultimately water quality.
And those who would fight the fires too. So
Yep, first
getting the
responders. as
first
part of that
responders
community.
have been involved. Great.
So the next steps coming out of this, we anticipate ongoing coordination with the city of Roanoke as critical partners for us to continue working with. So Launch Consulting actually has services and help many communities with grants. So the really good news are most of these activities are likely grant connected. And so we will be meeting with city staff and then anticipate Launch moving on to helping us with a roadmap for potential grants and when applications would be due, with the goal of supporting as much of this work as possible through grants that would obviously come back to the board for consideration. We have quarterly meetings with the city now that happen on a regular basis. We have utilized those quarterly meetings to kind of drive this ongoing coordination of activities around the cove. And so we would fall into that schedule where we anticipate incorporating this. The other element of this is James mentioned he collected a lot of really incredible data at the cove. And so we shared with the board that Virginia Tech has received a grant to extend out and do forestry modeling around Carvins Cove. So all the data that was initially collected has been provided to Virginia Tech. And so ultimately, this will complement the reservoir research, and we will be the first in the world to have a model that extends to the land. So that long term, as we do and implement strategies on the land, we will be able to quantify what the benefits were in the watershed. And so really looking forward to continuing that effort with NatureWorks, with Launch, but also beginning to incorporate Virginia Tech. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'll just add that we did allocate some money in the capital budget this year to start addressing some of the locating for the road improvements, culvert stuff. You know, regardless of where we move forward on the management plan, you know, some of those things just need to get done. And so we've included some money on those to get some of that work done for the upcoming years.
Mr. Chairman? So just to kind of wrap the financial piece, a couple slides back, it looks like it's about $500,000 initial cost between plan, the area, enhanced function of riparian areas, create maintenance. So if you add all the one times up, it's about $500,000, and then 250 a year. And so have we incurred the cost for the comprehensive plan already, or is that after this stage?
that's after this step.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we set aside 200,000 maybe in the upcoming capital budget to start addressing the road issues. You know, I see that as fairly critical, again, for the reasons that were mentioned earlier, just about first responder access. But those same roads are used by our hikers and mountain bikers. You know, the culverts, it's dry now, but there's gonna be periods when it's wet. The streams overflow, they'll just flow over the road. So that road maintenance is something we can jump on right now.
Yep. Good. I just want to make sure I had a holistic kind of picture. Thank you.
And the goal is obviously pursue
Grants, of course.
every single step that we can, including the plan. The city's a partner, and so I think we both would appreciate it if the plan costs as little as possible.
Understood. Thank you.
And I think our consulting friends would agree with this, that between the state and federal forestry agencies, they provide a lot of money to these towns. You know, they have a second interest in making sure private, or publicly, private landowners are managing forest correctly.
When you did your assessment, did you come up with a final like grade or number, like good risk, or we average, or we better than average?
Great question. We didn't really land on a grading per se. And it's hard to answer because we only took 37 points across 12,000 acres. I would say that the challenges you are facing are not unique. Most of the forests are up against the same challenge, whether it's wildfire risk or insects and disease or drought. The challenge you all are facing is you have it at scale. And so, and that's both a benefit because you're getting this massive water treatment from this forest. But it's also a challenge because under the right set of circumstances, you could have an insects outbreak or other impacts that could also go to scale.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just add to that, when we first put out the RFP for this, we got some feedback from community members about why we were doing this. And I think there's still a perception that East Coast forests are somehow more fire resistant or, resilient on those things. But the reality is, as our climate's changing, the conditions of those forests are changing, and there are just as many fires on the East Coast as there are on the West. They just aren't as dramatic. The resources are there to put them out sooner. But as mentioned, we're starting to see more insect issues. We've worked quite a bit with AEP on the power line easements through the reservoir to make sure that they are not using herbicides. So they do a lot of mechanical clearing of those right of ways to keep things. Well, that debris kind of piles up. There's invasive species that grow in that area that when they dry out become a risk. So there's a lot of change that's going on up at the cove that, I just don't think we can address. We need to kind of take it a little more of a firm handle on that.
So do we have any particular mechanisms in place for early detection of forest fires rather than somebody calling in that they see smoke?
So there's been some discussion within the planning about eventually doing drone and attempting to utilize drones more. The city of Roanoke, there was a grant to put emergency phones out further in where trail users could report either injuries. I haven't heard an update on that because the money was coming from an outside source, but there was anticipated to be some communication points where individuals could call it in. Brian Thompson, can kind of attest. It's an interesting thing on topography. The majority of incidents we've had are typically first seen by the airport tower. They really have broad view into the code so that if there is something, we generally have received a very early report from them. And I'll point out earlier, to clarify, Roanoke County actually is the wildfire response to Carpenter's Cove. And so we have met with Roanoke County to try to ensure there's good communication so that there's rapid response if there's a report.
Scott, if I could just add to that, I think it's a great question. And to emphasize the relationship with Roanoke County is an extremely qualified wildland fire operation. It's kind of unique in a lot of ways, but they are extremely professional, very well trained, using the latest technology in their wildland fire response. And so you guys have a great relationship, and I would encourage you to continue to enhance and build that relationship because they are very well-trained wildland fire professionals. And that's really largely why there hasn't been a larger incident. It's because they are so quick on it and so well-trained.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know the Virginia pines, I know that's becoming a real problem. We get higher winds and I've got property myself that it's just cluttered with down Virginia pines.
A lot of the overstocked areas are the pine areas because they've grown up without any management or anything. I mean, they get really, really dense and then their wind throw is a big challenge. And then it's just this big accumulation of very flammable fuel in one spot. So
Does losing these ash trees help to thin out some areas that would otherwise need more attention?
great question. Yes, it's created more kind of spacing, but unfortunately what we saw in those areas are where the highest percentage of your invasive plants, like, one area has wisteria growing in it. And so those are the areas that are, I think, one of the lower hanging fruits. You can come in, you can get more native species, tree species planted, get the canopy back up. But those areas are more open in space, but unfortunately they're with all that sunlight, they're getting invaded by a lot of the invasive plants.
I'll add, it was a concept that came up from the public meeting and we're going to pursue. And I think the city staff were very interested in this, is to work directly with AEP. And they've done an example project of this in West Virginia. So our ask to AEP will be that they consider putting in native low growth species in the easement areas so that we can stop this regular cutting in addition of fuels. And so that's going to be an early effort between city staff and ourselves, is asking for a meeting with AEP and beginning that discussion about making this kind of a showcase of using native species planted in those areas so we can stop this accumulating risk of fire debris.
Any other questions or comments? Fantastic presentation. Thanks very much for being with us tonight. Scott's great work. Appreciate all the staff work on that too. Okay. Michael? Item?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, item 14 on your agenda is just an update on the water supply planning discussion we've been having with the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission. I mentioned this last month. Well, let me back up and provide some background. The state, the Commonwealth has requirements for localities to do water supply planning on a somewhat periodic basis. This looked like we're really about every 10 years now. And this was really implemented again after the 2002 drought. So there was a big update done in 2014. There was a minor update done in 2018, I believe. But there hasn't really been a good comprehensive look at water supply planning that the state requires, the elements they look at, really since that 2014 plan. Interestingly, the way the code's written, the localities are the responsible parties for that. It's not utilities like us. But obviously we would work with the localities and the regional commission to help provide the information on municipal supplies. The state recently updated its regulations and now is requiring an update to these plans by October of 2029. And one of the things I think the state has been a little frustrated with has been the planning units. When these regulations first came out, they were encouraging regional plans, but the regions kind of got together based maybe more on political affiliations, not necessarily watershed type, more logical watershed type planning units. So the state, when they did their plan update regulation, kind of specified where those planning regimes would be. We would actually participate in two. One would be the Roanoke Upper James 2 unit, which is Botetourt, Craig, and Allegheny counties. And then the Roanoke River 1 planning area, which is Roanoke County, Franklin, Bedford, Salem units. And the regional commission has stepped forward to say they're happy to lead both of those. Most of those localities, with the exception, I guess, of Bedford, are within the planning unit that the Allegheny Regional Commission, Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission oversees. So I think when they've started discussing about how to pay for this. There was some interest among the locality members to approach us about some funding. So we were happy to talk to their executive director about that. Looks like they have applied for a grant, so to kind of lay us up, they've applied to the grant to the Corps of Engineers to fund the Upper James 2 unit involving Botetourt. They think that grant may be adequate enough to support that effort up there. And there's no matching fund requirement because of the income levels in Allegheny and Craig County there. So that one may be on kind of a glide path there. And the Corps of Engineers looks like they're supportive of that one. They're also putting an application in for the Roanoke River planning unit. But because of the income levels and size, number of people, it's likely that will require a matching grant. And so in talking with the regional commission, I think we can help them with some of that matching grant funds. Obviously, again, it makes sense for us to be involved. We're already going to commit staff time to the project. It looks like, though, they will not need that money till the next fiscal year. So not the fiscal year we're starting, but the next one. So we have a little time. But what they would like is a letter of support for their grant application. So with your all's concurrence, I was going to go ahead and write a letter of support for their grant application and indicate that we'd be willing to help financially. I don't think it's a lot of money. It's probably less than $100,000. But it depends on whether or not they get the grant. And we can always have continued negotiations throughout the year. And again, we'll be participating in both these plans. These plans are more comprehensive than just municipal supplies. They also look at agricultural uses, private wells. In a lot of the rural areas, there's no municipal sources. So it's all about groundwater and private wells. And so these plans are supposed to look at that. That data is a little harder to collect. So, obviously we can provide the information on the areas that we serve. And there's also some other, the city of Salem provides its own water in Botetourt County, Troutville, Fincastle, and Buchanan all provide water. Franklin County, Rocky Mountain provides its own water. So there are other municipal providers that'll be helping out as well. But I think the work for the consultants is going to be more in the estimating the agricultural needs and kind of well water needs for private homeowners. So anyway, so the good news is it's moving forward. Again, that Botetourt unit will probably happen first. It's just ahead in the queue. And then the Roanoke planning effort will be probably a little later. Definitely, and I think the regional commission staff don't see any problem meeting the October 2029 deadline. So really, I don't know if we have any action for you other than we'd like to write a letter of support, and then we can always address the financial support of the thing.
One quick comment. I think it would be helpful to the localities if perhaps either you and Jeremy or some combination thereof could set something out to each of us, kind of laying this out.
Okay.
And I don't know if we need to have like a meeting with all the different participants, but it's one of the tricky things sometimes with regional efforts is figuring out who's responsible for what and just getting it organized and getting it started. But I really appreciate you looking into this. I think I brought this up a few meetings ago, and I really appreciate that because this is way outside of the wheelhouse of our staff today, as we no longer operate any water systems as a county. So I really appreciate the effort.
Sure. No, I think it's again, we were going to participate anyway. And, Jeremy has a good team there. And again, this will be the legwork will be done by a consultant. So there'll be plenty of opportunity. One thing about the regional commission, they do a really good job on the public participation piece. They're very adept at that. They're used to managing the transportation plans. So they know how to do public hearings and things like that. So I think it could be a good team effort here for this.
Mike, you don't need any formal action from the board?
I guess just concurrence that we would support the grant application.
Any objections to the action that Mike is asking for? Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, either we could take a break now or we do have you know, the one item I mentioned, possible condemnation that we could address now if you'd like to do that before the break. You know, next up is our public hearing at 5:30, but we're actually ahead of schedule. So
I just had two items.
the other one's a bond related item, but we would probably do that with the budget. So, yeah.
Okay. What does the board wish? Would like to take a 5-minute break?
We got a long time. Might as well take care of the, what we can now.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll have to do it after the meeting.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, and your kind of at your table today was a board report. It's titled Authorization to Advertise Public Hearing for Condemnation of an Easement. And Will's going to pull up the report here, and we also have, we can zoom in on the GIS, but essentially what's going on here, and I think I mentioned this last month, and at least in the director's report, I don't know if we talked about it specifically, but we've been approached by the homeowners that are adjacent to the Pelican Point Marina down in Franklin County. This is on the south side of Smith Mountain Lake. There's about 12 homes there, just a little cul-de-sac kind of street next to the marina. They get their water from the marina, and the marina has notified them that at the end of August, they will no longer provide water. There apparently is a dispute there about continuing providing service. Don't know all the details there, and I'm not sure that that's that I need to, but the homeowners approached us about connecting to our system. They did reach out to the health department. The health department recommended the same thing, that because we have our Dillard's Hill system nearby to these homes, that we could maybe do an extension there. So these homeowners reached out. So Will, if you can move your cursor down Pelican Point there, Pelican, yeah. So it's these homes, yeah, there you go. So if you go to the end of that street there, it's all those homes right there. And again, they're currently supplied by the marina, which is, on the point there. It's well water. I think the quality's been good from what the homeowners have told us, and they're just in a bit of a dispute about continuing to provide that service. I think the marina is a little worried about its capacities in the wells, and it wants to expand, and so they've just basically said, we're going to cut you off. So you can kind of see, if you pull back a little bit, Will, here. We have service. The blue line there is one of our water mains as part of our Dillard's Hill distribution system. That subdivision right there that's adjacent to the homeowners is called the Cottages. We and the homeowners from Pelican Point have reached out to the Cottages. What we essentially want to do is just do a connection into that blue line there, run it across two properties, and tie into the existing distribution system for the homes at the end of that street. The marina is willing to turn that pipe system over to us as part of the disentanglement of these homes from their system. So we needed two easements to get across there. It's about a 525-foot extension. One of them is a homeowner that needs water as part of this, who will lose his water service. So that was amenable. The other one goes across some common areas in the Cottages. And so staff and the Pelican Point folks approached the HOA for the Cottages. And that area right there, that's common area, is drain fields for some of the homes that are there. So they were a little concerned about running a pipe through there. We actually got the plans for that, and we went out and did some potholing to kind of see where the distribution lines were and everything like that. And we found a corridor that will work. We're actually proposing to do a directional drill. So we would set up on the neighboring property, drill a pit, and we would drill across the essentially underneath the common area of that HOA, turn around and then drill back out to the street on the other side. So this would all be done subsurface through two bores. And again, the total extension is 525 feet. It's about $55,000 to do. And the good news is the health department, when we're working with Idaho Shores, said we have some residual amounts left over from ARPA funds that have to be spent before the end of the year, and they would give us the $55,000 toward this cost. The issue we've run into is the Cottages HOA has a lot of concerns, and they enumerated those in a letter. And what they would like is a number of items, including $5,000 to have their lawyer review our easement, $10,000 in escrow to cover any miscellaneous expenses they may have during the process. They want us to provide a formal design for the extension across here, and then also design an alternative, and then have an independent engineer review them and see what's best for the cottages. So altogether, and they want all that done before they're willing to take a vote on whether they would do the easement. So altogether, this is well over $100,000 worth of work. Would not meet the August 31st deadline that both the homeowners are facing to lose their water and the ARPA fund deadline that the health department's given us, because they need to get that money spent in time for their deadline. So I just don't see us resolving this in the time that we need. There is a solution that would have us go out onto Dillard's Hill Road and run a pipe all the way from our existing treatment plant, right there, that kind of red square, down Dillard's Hill Road, down Pelican Point. It's about a little bit more than 3,000 foot extension. All in with design, it's about $600,000. The health department does not have money for that. It's kind of hard to justify that on our end for 12 homes, and the 12 homeowners probably would not be able to afford a $600,000 kind of fee there. So what I'm requesting is that you authorize staff to notice a public hearing for condemnation of an easement across the cottage's common area. And again, the authorization is just to advertise a public hearing. We would still have the public hearing, and then you can make a decision there. Obviously, we would notify the cottage's HOA about what we're doing. So they'd have an opportunity to come and speak to you about it during the public hearing. But I think it's just too good an opportunity to miss, and I'm concerned that we're just not going to make the timelines based on the decision-making process that they've laid out. Hopefully we can resolve it. There are some costs associated with the condemnation. We do have to get an appraisal. We've talked to Miller Long Associates about that. It's about $2,600 to do an appraisal. We would ask the Pelican Point neighbors to fund that. We currently are valuing the easement at about $18,000, but it's because Franklin County has not assessed that common area HOA. They have a property value on that as $100. So we looked at the land values for the homes around it and did some calculations, and that's where we came up with the 18,000. But because this is common area with drain field on it, we don't think necessarily an appraisal will show that. But that's kind of the number we're working with right now. And again, that would be a cost that the Pelican Point neighbors would have to bear that if that were to be the appraised value. Just to, since we don't do these very often, just kind of reminder, besides the public hearing and having to get a certified appraisal, we would do this through what's called a quick take capability, which is we would enter some paperwork with the court if you were to approve the condemnation. We would put a deposit with the court of the appraised value of the land, move forward with the work, and then the homeowners association then would have an opportunity to negotiate and or have a say court hearing, because it's not a trial, but it's a hearing where they could impanel some jurors or just have a special master appointed by the courts to oversee the process. And there would essentially be a kind of a trial to say, was the appraised amount correct? Should there be more or less, that kind of stuff.
Can I go back again real quick? I'm sorry, what was the $18,000?
That's what we're valuing our staff is valuing the easement at. But it's because the homes around it, the land values are high. We're not sure that the common area would really be.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, it's a common area that you're not going to change how it's used. It's surrounded by drain field. I would think it would be worth
less,
a small fraction of.
Exactly. But we need to get an appraisal to know.
Were there any public utility easements on the subdivision plats?
There was, there is along the roads, but not across. We're essentially
between property.
Yeah, we're trying to cut across.
Weird.
Yeah, I know. And build at different times. That little kind of trail you see on the edge of their property is really like a walking trail. But we just need to kind of cut across their property. perpendicular to their road and across the neighbor there and tie in. We're only doing a 6-inch diameter extension for about 525 feet. It'll take our guys about 3 weeks total to do everything. So it's not a big effort. We think we can get it done.
You gonna change the common area at all? I mean, what is it?
We're gonna do it all subsurface, so there won't be any surface disposal or surface disruption. We've modeled it. One of the concerns would be that somehow this extension would lower the pressure for the cottages. We've actually had our consultant model that. There's no appreciable difference. It's just I think a perception issue that somehow adding another 12 homes onto the subdivision will cause them problems. It doesn't exist. So, again, not something we take lightly, but we just don't see a solution here that, if we don't make the deadline, for whatever reason, this doesn't happen. The other option for the homeowners at Pelican Point would be, to either put their own wells in on each of the lots or put in one or two, form their own little water system. They've approached us about maybe condemning the wells that the marina uses. We don't think that's a viable option. So, we don't really want to add more well systems here. We already have a pretty robust water system, the Dillard's Hill system. So we propose just to add those customers to it. We don't see that there's any negative effects to it. And it would provide service to these 12 homes.
So the marina was.
Do we have fire service on?
The lines through the cottages there are 6-inch. So there's some hydrants, but they don't really provide a lot of value.
How close is it to Contentment?
And this is part of the Contentment Island. So that Contentment Island's right next door there. So it's part of the Contentment Island development overall. It's just a part of that.
But it can't connect to Contentment.
They're all interconnected, yeah. So,
Okay.
so they're all interconnected. They're all fed by the tank up on the hill there, what we call our Dillard's Hill tank, yeah. So all that blue there, you see is all connected through a series of pipes, and we have several wells. We have a storage tank and a treatment plant, and we're serving all that through one system, one consolidated system. So we kind of see this just as a natural extension of the system. Yeah.
But they originally built those 12 homes and connect them to the well at the marina?
They did, yeah. Yeah, so now, and that's another option. Maybe the homeowners just need to renegotiate with the marina, but the marina seems pretty adamant. Some of our staff have talked to the owner there, and she's just not interested in continuing that.
And so there's a couple things here real quick. The first, in my head, the goal of the water authority is to provide public water to people. Right? Presuming that's almost always better than private water sources for a whole host of reasons. And then if there was ever a situation in which the application of eminent domain makes perfect sense, it is this, right? Just the fact it's a common area, it's not in single ownership from a practical standpoint, because you have a committee that's going to vote, all that. And quite frankly, I think the appraised value of the impact of this will be incredibly low. Because you're not actually buying the land, you're just getting the easement, and you're not going to affect the use. So it should be, quite frankly, I mean, I would almost think of it's off the cuff, is this even $1,000 in value, like when you actually appraise it? And then you've got, functionally forever public water to citizens of one of our jurisdictions. So I think it's, quite frankly, if the marina wanted the same water too, that'd be great.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just, that's what we're here for. And all these little private systems that have all their different issues, once we take over these things, we eliminate those. So I just think it's very appropriate. And again, exactly what it was. We go out of our way to avoid using this, but there was every case to use it in things like this.
Chairman Gray, can I ask a couple questions?
Absolutely.
Have we offered the cottages any money for the easement yet?
So they are not willing to consider, we have not offered them an easement yet. They actually want to do their own appraisal, and that's another condition.
I get it, but have we directly said,
We
we'll
have
give you
not.
$5,000 for this?
We have not.
Are
they're very kind of tied to a process that they feel like they have to evaluate everything, all the things I mentioned.
Donated HOA.
Yeah,
I get it.
before they're willing to put it for a vote.
Right,
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it. So we haven't made them offer directly. Are they aware that we're considering a public hearing and a condemnation?
Not yet. I would contact them. They, obviously,
Are they aware that that's the next option?
they know it's an option, but we have so far not told them we want to pursue that. We typically try to work these things out. And, we're surprised at, the level of detail that they want to.
Yeah,
pursue
I
here.
think if we're trying to work it out, that's why I'm asking these questions like that, if that's the route we're going, should there be an opportunity to go a similar route without going this?
So one thing is
I mean, is there anything that could stop us from the public hearing if we told them that's what we're going to do?
No, we would hold the public hearing and they would have an opportunity to come and speak. And you guys would decide whether or not to move forward. Even if we move forward and we did the quick take, then there's still opportunities for them to, work on the easement language, decide whether the dollar amount is enough. And just by advertising the public hearing doesn't mean you have to have it. You can always not have it.
But before we advertise it, I mean, once that happens, it's game.
I would talk to them well.
I mean,
in
say,
advance. Yeah.
This is only our next option. We don't want to, we
Right.
don't necessarily want to do this. How about if we give you $5,000 for these, whatever the number is, but if we're going to give 18,000, might as well make some reasonable offer. And so the cost of doing the project is how much?
It's 55,000, which the health department's willing to pay for.
And the ARPA funds will cover all of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, the ARPA funds will not cover the easement.
Right.
Those don't.
They don't
yeah.
pay for land.
Right, right. Understand that. Okay.
Has to be sent by then bonus.
Yeah, that's the key.
Well, I get it, but you call them tomorrow and say,
Oh, yeah.
hey, our next step is to go to condemnation,
And our-
public hearing. They can't stop that from happening.
See, we can get a right of entry.
Yeah, our,
almost as soon as you.
right. Our staff has actually talked to them 3 or 4 times and we just don't see this kind of getting to that.
Yeah, the people that run the HOAs are not lawyers. They don't understand how this things, in my experience. Some probably do. Some are probably very adept at understanding complicated issues like this. I just might entertain the thought of having a discussion with them about what other options are available. And if those aren't options they're willing to consider, then make sure they know the next step is.
Right. I agree. No, I think.
Before we file the paperwork
Yeah,
to
I agree.
have public hearing, that's gonna blow it up. I mean,
Yeah, that's fine, as long as we can meet our deadline. So,
call them tomorrow.
yeah, if the marina were to one day need public water, then we need an 8-inch line rather than a 6.
Yeah, if the marina needed water, at that point, we probably would look at the extension down from Dillard's Hill.
Okay.
But I'd also like to, at that point, talk to the that other neighborhood right there? Same thing. It's a private system that supports all that. So that probably is a much bigger project. And
There's no point in upsizing that line to 8-inch now.
No, because we're tying it to a 6. We're trying to kind of get this done for these 12, but I do think it's a good extension down the rest of the road and hook everybody up down there if people are amenable to it. But the marina was not interested at this time. So
I guess this is more for council than this might.
yeah.
So my understanding though, when we do this, we are required to offer whatever our appraised value is, right? So we have to have an appraisal done, offer that amount. We're free to negotiate for that if we choose to, but that's the legal minimum when you do a quick take is you have to provide that. I guess do it in escrow while you negotiate or something, and then like you can, or give them that, then you can always offer more to settle future disputes, but that allows you to go ahead and do the project based on that.
There is a requirement to do an appraisal. There's actually graduated levels where if it's below 10,000, you can just do it based upon the tax records. Between 10,000 and 25,000, you can do it based on the tax records, but the landowner can demand an appraisal. Above 25,000, you have to get an appraisal before you make an offer. In this particular instance, and this is what I think Mike was getting at, the way that tax assessments work, the assessor always just puts a $100 and this is required by statute. It's silly, but this is the way it's required to work. The assessor just puts a $10 value or $100 value, whatever the de minimis number is, onto the common area, and then considers that the value of the common area is spread out to the value of all the properties.
taxable.
So that makes it really hard to figure out what the common area is worth. So I think that that's what's really
Yeah.
driving Mike.
I think we want a professional to look at that. and
Yeah,
Come
I
up with a
agree.
good number. Yeah.
And then you need to make that offer. You need to give them a period of time to decide, to make a decision, give them a notice that says, hey, we're in an impasse. You gotta really make the decision right now. And then finally, you file the certificate. Even after you file the certificate, you have 6 months to actually file the petition with the court. And in my experience, you are negotiating through that entire time.
What are the designated reserve areas for the drain fields on there?
So the,
Because sometimes,
yeah.
you have to have a reserve.
I think that you're right, there is, and it's kind of hard to tell, but it's the kind of around the trees there. Most of the drain fields are actually are kind of closer to the road, but what we were actually concerned about is the distribution lines coming from the houses. They're all a little pumped. And that's why we went out and did some potholing to kind of make sure we could avoid those. But I don't think we're in the drain fields themselves, but we were concerned that we'd be crossing,
Okay.
crossing those distribution lines, but I think we can make that work. And again, they were amenable to have us go out there and do some subsurface investigation. It wasn't like they were saying no to that altogether. They have a lot of questions and they want all those answered before they're willing to say yes or no. And I just don't see us getting that done in a timely manner.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a motion to authorize the executive director to obtain the appraisal and advertise a public hearing. I'd like to amend the motion to add Don's comment to at least make an offer to the other counterparty prior to that, and then move ahead with the appraisal and the advertisement.
Okay, no problem. I think we want to try to make this as cooperative as we can.
Have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Like, do we need a roll call on this one?
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Secretary?
Second,
Hancock.
Mr. Brookins.
Yes.
Mr. Kaywood,
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell.
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Ms. Holland,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Loveman.
Yes.
Now we're still.
That's all right. Important business, Mike. Okay. Next item is public hearing. As I understand, we don't actually formally open it. We just say it's a public hearing time. Is that correct? For
We
the,
have to wait till the
5:30, so.
for the, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, sorry.
We just
need- we moved a lot along
faster.
So-
Got it.
Give us a break.
Right, I understand. Yeah, okay. So,
We can take.
yeah.
Yeah, let's just recess until the public hearing.
Okay, that's it. Okay. All right, half hour then. Okay. Harvey and Val just stepped out. A little bit. Okay. It is 5:30 and I will open public hearing for the 2027 budget. Madam Secretary, do we have anybody that would like to speak?
We do not.
No, no one? Mike, did you say that PowerPoint is for this part or for the next?
After the two public hearings,
After the
we
public-
could show it at the
Great.
board's.
Okay, so we'll then close the public hearing for the budget and open the public hearing for rates and fees supporting the budget 2027. Madam Secretary, anybody here for that one?
Have not received any
There.
requests.
Okay, Michael?
Mr. Chairman, Tammy does have a short PowerPoint, if you'd like to go through it, that kind of recaps the budget discussions we've had over the last 4 months. It's up to y'all if you feel you've already been saturated on this. I know we've devoted a lot of time to the budget over the last few months. We can dispense with this or go through it at y'all's pleasure.
I think, let's do it.
So we'll go over the 2027 budget. So total revenues for the 2027 budget total 107 million. And that includes 53.9 million in water funds and 54 million in sewer funds. Total expenses are 80.5 million, which that includes debt service on the water fund. That equates to 42.7 million. And on sewer, 37.6 million. So total available for capital and reserves for the 27 budget, total 27.4 million, and that's cash. Next, on the capital plan for the water infrastructure projects, we will be spending 11.1 million in cash. And those projects consist of transmission, distribution, treatments, source water program, and additional capital improvements. We will be taking 500,000 out of our reserves. And then we also have a bond issuance of 22.7 million. So capital plan for the water infrastructure is 34.4 million. On the sewer, we'll be spending 15.7 million in cash, and we'll actually be putting 564,787 into our reserves. So for a total spending of 16.2 million. Next, we'll talk about our rates. All customers will see a volume 1 tier rate, and that includes for both water and sewer users. We also have some additional fees that will increase. Irrigation tier will increase, and septic and grease disposal fees will change for out of jurisdiction only. The rates are proposed to go into effect October of 2026. And just a reminder that all of our member localities, the water rates were consolidated in January of 23, and all of our sewer rates were consolidated in January of 2022. So the methodology for calculating water and sewer bills remain the same as our previous years. So rates proposed for an average residential customer using 4,000 gallons. Again, it's an increase of $1.20 to that volume charge. So the water residential bill will go from $31.45 to $32.65, and that's 3.8% increase. On the sewer, again, $1.20 to the volume charge. It will raise the bill from $42.70 to $43.90, or 2.8%. So a combined bill for residential customer using 4,000 gallons, their overall bill will increase $2.40. So it goes from $74.15 to $76.55, or 10%. So on the septic disposal, again, it's only out of jurisdiction. So currently it's 76.05 per 1,000. We are increasing at 5%. So it will go to 79.85. Bridge truck waste fees, again, it's only out of jurisdiction. Currently it's 110 per 1,000. They're going to increase that again 5%, so their new rate will be $115.50 per 1,000. Irrigation, that currently that tier is $5.50, and we're proposing to move that tier to $6. And then all the other miscellaneous fees and charges that we have will remain the same. So the 37th Annual Virginia Water and Wastewater Rate Report was distributed sometime in the latter part of April. And so when we compare ourselves to TRC, you can see the TRC average for water is $37.63. Our proposed rate for water is $32.65. So we're 87% of the state average. The sewer TRC average is $53.38. Our proposed rate is $43.90. So we're 82% of that state average. And the combined bill average for TRC is $91.01. Our proposed rate would be $76.55. So that means that we are 84% of the state average. And the board sets a target that we should be 5% under the state average. So well under the state average.
Mr. Chairman, just going to interrupt Tammy real quick. And should probably highlight these here, but the TRC report is the old Draper Aiden Associates report that they've done for BML and BACO for many years. We did notice in this one that there's a significant drop off in the people participating. So not nearly as many utilities participating. So I'm not sure going forward after this year about the viability of that report or how meaningful it's going to be, because it's just not the same robust report that it used to be in the past.
So as we look at the monthly water residential bills, again, this is a water slide and it's comparing our rates to other jurisdictions surrounding us. So our current bill is $31.45. Again, we're going to $32.65, and then the average is $37.63. The sewer rates, again, we're currently at $42.70. We're going to $43.90, and the TRC average is $53.38. Eden's combined bill, currently at $74.15, proposing $76.55, and the TRC average is $91.01. So it is, in my opinion, that our rates are very
Affordable.
thank you.
Do you know whether they're using the 5,000, 4,000?
Yeah, this is using 4,000.
They
So
are.
the TRC, they have rates for 4,000 and or
Okay.
5,000. And I failed to mention, but the ones that have little asterisks, they were not in the TRC. However, we wanted to report on those, so we found those on the website. And again, the TRC rate, that is a 2025 report. So it does lag a couple of years.
I would say that Loudon Water, when we look at benchmarking, they're probably the closest to us. They have similar size customer base and utility structure. So that's one we always pay attention to. Fortunately, they dropped out of the reports.
But I do think our rates are going up 7%
Yeah.
in the next few years. Yeah.
All right, we have a resolution to adopt the rates and fee schedule for reporting.
Make a motion.
Yeah, fiscal year 2027 budget. The motion to approve that resolution.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 519.
Second,
Second.
Shirley. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brookins?
Yes.
Mr. Haywood?
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Ms. Holland?
Yes.
Ms. Turner? Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Lovett?
That's right. Yes. Okay. Okay. Next one, Mike. Sammy?
Well, I guess we did.
Yeah,
All right, covered. I make a motion we approve resolution 520.
Okay, this is item 18, is correct?
18. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2027. We have a motion, second?
I'll second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brookins.
Yes.
Mr. Haywood,
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell.
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Ms. Holland,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Lovman,
Yes. Agenda item 19
Mr. Chairman, I'll
for the board bond resolution.
yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'll take that one. So as we presented in our capital plan on the water fund that we were going out on bonds. So we submitted an application the end of May. So this gives us, here's Mike, the approval for us to execute the financing agreement as well as reimburse ourselves for any expenses that we have incurred, prior to closing. Again, it's 22.7 million. We received preliminary interest today, and that interest rate is 3.97. The bond sale is scheduled for July 21st and closing August 4th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add just my thanks to Mike Lockaby. Again, he mentioned earlier, he's our bond counsel. He's worked pretty hard on this one, so thanks for doing it.
Okay. All right, we have resolution 521, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, need a motion to approve resolution 521.
So moved.
Don,
I'll second.
Randall? Yes. Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brookins.
Yes.
Mr. Haywood,
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell.
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Ms. Holland,
Yes.
Ms. Turner.
Yeah.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Lovman.
Yes.
Mike, you had additional.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, one other item we wanted to add to the agenda is the Roanoke area distribution system improvements phase 2. What we've been describing to y'all is the Melrose project. We've completed Melrose 1A/B. On to kind of an extension of that. It's primarily replacing galvanized, 2-inch galvanized mains along Williamson Road from 581 area through 10th Street along Williamson Road, that neighborhood, kind of bracketed by those. This is one that you actually all approved to be part of the budget in a previous fiscal year, and we applied for funding through the Virginia Department of Health. That program is actually administered by the Virginia Resources Authority on behalf of VDH. VDH kind of makes the funding, the award decisions, and then all the paperwork behind the scenes is handled by VRA. But we had actually been approved for a little bit more than $10 million, 10.6. However, the bids came in really well. So we have a project really that's about 9.6. So it came in about $1 million less. And that's inclusive also of a contingency and design costs and things like that. So really proud of the work our guys did on that. We did, notice that if we close before July 11th, we can shave 0.2% off the interest rate. And as of the other day, I don't know if it's still the same, the VDH is projecting that rate to be 2.75%, which is outstanding.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And I think Mike can answer again some issues here. He and Tammy have been scrambling in the last couple of days to try to get this put together so we could close early and get the interest rate set. So.
Luckily, the bond counsel for VRA is both not going on vacation and is a friend of mine from law school. And so she's in for it to get us the 0.2%.
Mr. Chairman, I'll pass the motion to move forward with this, both these savings.
Second.
The motion second.
Second.
Second, okay. All right, any further discussion?
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brookins.
Yes.
Mr. Haywood,
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell.
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Ms. Holland,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Lovett,
Yes. Like, does that complete all the?
It does, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for your patience there. I know that's a lot of resolutions there to adopt in the budget for next year.
Any other comments from board members?
I have a comment. I want to thank you for your leadership on this last meeting. Mr. Chairman, done a wonderful job
Thank
all
you.
year long. With this transition and bringing on a new customer, none of us has seen before, biggest customer ever. You helped us lead us through everything in the public hearings and things like that. So great job, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's been an honor. Thank you very much. It's been an honor for me.
Mr. Chairman, could I also make one other comment?
Yes, sir.
Quickly, I just want to acknowledge, as we always do, the work of Tammy and the team in putting the budget together. We get reports that are several slides long, and there are days and weeks of work, that go into putting all that together, and it's not getting any easier every year. So I just want to appreciate that. Very well put together and helpful for the board to work through and ultimately approve. So thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, to add to that, Tammy, as we know, coming to this meeting today, that we were once again awarded the Government Finance Officers Association
Excellent.
Award for financial reporting and auditing that we've gotten many years in a row. So,
You're gonna rename it.
yeah, that's right. It's a mouthful.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Well said, Don. Thank you. Any other business for the board? Being that there is no other business from our last time, I call the meeting adjourned.